You can tell I'm a little sick right now, but I had to talk about this, and this is the double champ thing, okay? I understand. It started with Conor. When I mean by double champ, I mean holding two belts simultaneously. There's 4 fighters in the UFC that have ever done it. That being Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, Henry Cejudo, and Amanda Nunes. I think we just need to leave it at that. Outside of extreme extenuating circumstances, I think holding 2 belts just... I honestly think at this point, just make it illegal, okay? I have no problem with like an Alex Pereira situation where somebody wins a title in the middleweight and goes up a division and wins a belt. Like, people will call that a double champ. I'm not exactly sure if I would call that a double champ because you're not holding 2 belts at the same time. That's perfectly fine. My biggest problem with being a double champion is you're almost guaranteed to be holding up at least one, if not both of those divisions. I think contractually, as a champion, you have to defend at least 2 times a year. And listen, I understand most champions are doing that, but I say most. And if you're a double champion, I think you gotta up that to 4. The fact is we're getting to the point that, the divisions where we are seeing double champions, that being in featherweight, lightweight, and then now we're getting into like a welterweight, middleweight situation. These are divisions where we're barely ahead of the blockade that's already occurring. Welterweight is so top-heavy right now. Leon Edwards is talking about going up and fighting Sean Strickland. Brother, we're giving you a payday in Colby Covington. We know he doesn't deserve it, but you're the one that's going to get paid the most here because Colby Covington doesn't get a share of the pay-per-view, despite being the main draw. Let's be real. And you want to go up and fight Sean Strickland next? No. I understand you beat Kamaru Usman, and Kamaru Usman dominated that division, but MMA math doesn't work that way. So, before we do that, I say Leon Edwards fights Colby Covington. If he beats him, we do Bilal Muhammad. I'm not a huge fan of Bilal, but at this point, either give him the belt, give him the chance to fight for it, or Leon Edwards, just finish what you were supposed to do the first time and don't eye poke the guy. Because the UFC has been looking for somebody to get rid of Bilal Muhammad. I'm convinced at this point, your only real options are Leon fights Bilal Muhammad for the title, and hopefully they can get rid of him. Or Shavkat looks good against Wonderboy, and they feed Bilal to Shavkat. Which would be crazy, but I think as a fan base we would let it slide because we just don't like Bilal. And then you have Dricus du Plessis, a guy who hasn't even fought for the title yet. And listen, I've been rooting for Dricus ever since he beat Robert Whittaker. Because the fact that the UFC really tried to throw him under the bus saying, oh, I guess he just doesn't have that championship mentality. Never mind the fact he broke his hand fighting the Max Holloway of the middleweight division. You're not going to fight for the title anymore. And then they were going to make Jared Cannonier versus Israel Adesanya terrible. Sean Strickland, rest is history. Now Dricus gets the chance to fight for the title now. Perfectly agree. Says in an interview to build up hype for that fight because that fight's coming up. Yeah, I'd be interested in fighting Alex Pereira. I mean, Alex Pereira beat Sean Strickland. If I beat Sean Strickland, then that fight makes more sense. No, it doesn't. That's not. No. Like, middleweight is another one where we have people like Hamza. Brennan Allen just won against Paul Craig. Paulo Costa's reportedly fighting Robert Whittaker. Like, you have people to fight. If Israel comes back out of nowhere, understand that they will justify doing Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis. Despite Israel Adesanya losing to Alex Pereira and Sean Strickland, they will make that fight more than any other contender. And then you have to... Hamzat's coming up. Bo Nickal's coming up. Like, it's going to get extremely crowded in the next couple years. So this double champ thing, it was cool when we didn't have as stacked divisions as we used to. But when people bring up Conor, when I complain about Leon Edwards doing it, and Dricus du Plessis saying he wants to do it, Conor McGregor, out of those 4 that I named in the beginning of the video, deserved it the least. That is the best example of Dana White privilege in his entire career. He shouldn't have been allowed to fight Eddie Alvarez. He said that he was going to rematch Jose Aldo. That never happened. Jose Aldo was undefeated for 13 years and didn't get an immediate rematch. Explain that to me. But you know what? That's past. Aldo is retired. Conor McGregor is coming back against Michael Chandler. Like, there's no point arguing about that anymore. Daniel Cormier had the right idea because outside of losing to a juiced-up John Jones, he was the champion of light heavyweight, beat Stipe Miocic, and was the champion there. Amanda Nunes was champions over, let's be real here. She's a double champion, but one of those divisions doesn't fucking exist. Look up the rankings of the UFC women's featherweight division, and you are going to have a good chuckle to yourself. So really, you're like a 1.5 champion. Henry Cejudo, fair point. I mean, you did fight a fair point, I guess. But other than that, unless we're going to deal with a crazy active champion or an Alexander Volkanovski who made a super competitive division in the featherweight division look easy, outside of that, no. And I know Islam's looking to become... I know he was looking to become the backup fighter for Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. Thank God that didn't happen. And even if Colby wins, Colby wants to fight Islam. Colby's already said he doesn't want to fight anybody at welterweight. What's going on? But, you know what? I'm done ranting about it. This is day 4 of daily YouTube content. I know I'm a little bit, sick right now, but I just wanted to get this out there so we can continue the streak. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and if you have any criticisms for this video, go in the comment section below. Put it right there. Adios, guys.